from the historic Ham Building in St. Paul, it's the Haberdasher's Couch. I'm Kendrick, inviting you to the show, starring Heimie and Dorset, featuring Todd Walker, also featuring Amye Scharlau. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Heimie.
It's Todd About Town, Todd Walker, entertainment, travel, and more. Hey Todd, what's new?
Welcome to another show of the Haberdasher's Couch, where you don't have to pay somebody to listen to you. And I tell you what, the last time you saw this show, Todd was about to depart to New York City, and he went to visit this new ship, the MSC Meraviglia.
Sure.
And he went about town in New York City, and he's got some highlights of his trip, and we're here to talk to him about that. Todd, welcome.
Well, yeah. So I went out there for MSC for a company called In the Loop Travel, a great site. If you don't follow it, you should. Very, very interesting information about cruising, about traveling. Just a great site. Anyway, so they had me go out, check out this ship. First time in the New York Harbor and the city of New York. It was every taxi on the top of it said MSC Meraviglia, and billboards, everything. It was a big, big deal. It's going to be like a 10,000 person impact in the city of New York.
Okay.
But it is a large ship. But they have something that is called ship within a ship too. So like a lot of people always think about these larger ships being just so overwhelming, but they have a yacht club, and you have a special entrance, and you go into the yacht club, and you have your own pool, beautiful suites, your own restaurant, your own bar.
Ship.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. It's a beautiful ship. I'll share some.
I get a cooler inside my canoe.
Yeah.
And a minnow bucket.
I'll share some of the images with Kendrick here, and we'll put some of them up.
So this ship is sitting in harbor, and I remember the shots from the Titanic, right? Where you this big, beautiful ship with these docking ramps and everything. Is it like that still?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit easier to get on, but yes, but it's still big.
Right.
But then I went out and I decided I wanted to explore New York City, and one of the guys I was with had never been to New York, and I think a lot of times as travelers, when we go to a city like New York City, we think, we got to find what's new. We got to find what's different.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to do this through, the first-timer's eyes, because I know you've spent a lot of time there too, and so have I. And I had visited some old favorites, and so I put together kind of a list of some of the new things I did. I'd never been to the 9/11 Museum. And have you been there yet, or no?
Yeah, the pool.
The pool,
square?
yes.
Yep.
But then downstairs where they have the museum, have you been inside the museum?
I haven't been inside the museum.
Okay, the museum is really, really something to experience. They have a lot of the old, the tapes, the news coverage that you watch. They have just some really amazing images. Some of the things that,
the
were saved.
The footprint is so big there.
Yeah.
You got to really pick and choose.
Yep.
So did you were you able to did you visit the Brooklyn Bridge out on the Brooklyn Bridge?
I did. And what I want to share here is, to me, the best way to see a number of these cities, and I tell people this all the time, and they go, "What is the hop on, hop off?" You can obviously take the subway,
the transportation.
But
options,
if somebody hasn't been to a city and you want to see it above ground, the hop on, hop off is just a great way. Do you buy your ticket? You can travel around the city. You can see it at different times of day. I'm a big supporter of it. So I went to some of the things I hadn't seen. The Vessel, or the Hive, if you're familiar with that. It's an interesting structure that's right over by the High Line. And the High Line is an area where the meat packers used to transport meat back and forth. And then it was just no longer needed. And so it's basically an elevated roadway for that now they have converted to beautiful gardens. Really, just a really nice spot. It's about 1.25 miles long.
Does that transition real nicely into Soho and Chinatown? How is Chinatown? What's the health and well-being of?
That's felt pretty vibrant.
Yeah.
Soho did as well. Soho, I can remember back 10, 15 years ago, it felt more quaint, as you probably remember, when it was just a little bit more, storefronts with shops, with
trendy.
A little bit, and it's gotten a little bit more like the rest of the shopping areas. So that, I think, is kind of lost some of its
Didn't the Rockefeller Center, doesn't that have a new installation out front.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And so I
Yeah.
did, and there's a roller skating rink out in front now.
Right.
So that is there.
Yep.
And I went up to the top of the rock and looked all over the Rockefeller Plaza, and so that was really nice. Magnolia Bakery. Have you ever had the cupcakes from Magnolia?
I was gonna ask you about food.
Okay, well, I'm going to hit food here now then.
Yeah, right.
So Magnolia Bakery was made famous from Sex and the City, and it was down in, I think, in the Soho area, meatpacking area. And it is just a great, great bakery, wonderful buttercream frostings, and now they have them all over the city. But definitely had to go to Magnolia Bakery.
Carmen's?
Carmine's is right on 44th and Broadway, and it is just it's been around for, I think, since 1935. I happened to get there on the night. They only once a week they serve carbonara, so enjoyed wonderful carbonara.
love
It's
it, yeah.
true Italian place,
Right.
and that's just a great
Tell me
building.
about the post-pandemic shopping situation in New York. Are we back?
It feels like, man, I had this conversation with a number of people while I was there. I think, I mean, you're in the business,
Right.
you know it better than anybody. But I think the media and people are trying to tease us like people are going back in stores. And the reality, when you talk to consumers, it just seems like people aren't going back as much. They're doing online. Maybe they're going back a little bit
I always
more.
figured New York was New York, and it moves ahead when
Yeah.
other people are still behind.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, it's
So-
busy. If
yeah,
you're going to
it's
ask, like,
busy.
is Fifth
Yeah,
Avenue
yeah,
busy?
yeah,
Absolutely. The shopping stores, are people going in and out of them? For sure. I
Safe,
felt
clean.
that. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Now, I'm born and raised St. Paul kid. I, of course, love the city of St. Paul. But, a big but here, man. It is just, I have to say,
New York is safer, folks.
I mean, New York, you're in Central Park in New York City. I mean, with all those people, I didn't see a wrapper, a tin can. It was clean. I felt safe. The whole city feels that way.
Nice.
And you walk out in downtown St. Paul, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
Right.
It just is not a clean city.
Give
but,
us just
yeah.
a real quick glimpse at the American Museum,
Sure.
we talked Central Park,
Yeah.
and the Guggenheim.
I hit them all.
Yeah.
American Museum, of course, you've made famous by the movie Night at, what was it called now?
Night at Museum.
Night at the Museum.
Yep.
And you go inside and you're immediately greeted by the dinosaurs, so that was fun. And then the area that has the big elephants. Also went over to the Guggenheim. I'm going to lay it right out there. I'm not a fan of the Guggenheim. Not a bit. Not a bit.
Isn't the
Spiral.
yeah,
I mean,
same as we have in Minneapolis?
Yeah,
that has the same.
Yeah, I wasn't big
architect.
on that.
Yeah.
Also, have to throw out. Went to Tavern on the Green, had a martini. I thought you just have to there. Serendipity, which was made famous by the Jacqueline Onassis, would bring her two children. Of course, John Jr., who passed away, and Caroline, and they would order the famous frozen hot chocolate. So I went up there and had the frozen hot chocolate. So did it all. Had the hot dog on the street.
Tell me if you're planning a trip now to go to New York. Let's say 4 days.
Yep.
Give me the scoop.
I would stay 2 days downtown, so you can take in 9/11 and that whole area down there, so you could experience Chinatown with just that whole area. Then I'd spend two nights in Midtown, Uptown, and then be able to take in the museum, Central Park, some of the famous little restaurants and nooks and crannies, and get a feel for Central Park. So it's like 2 different trips.
What part of so we're talking Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island.
Yeah, but I mean, that's going to be a longer trip.
Right.
If you have 4 nights, I would do 2 downtown, 2 uptown.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And expense. Pricing for
I got to
hotels?
tell you, my hotel was it was $265 a night, and
That's surprising.
and it was
That's
at the Millennium Hotel right off of Broadway. I mean, it was nice, right off of Central Park.
Next week, what are we covering?
Next week, we're going to go back because I know everybody likes to know what's going on around town. We're going to talk about what is going on all around town
Yay,
as we
Todd's
enter into.
back.
Yeah, well, you know, and I just to be really honest with you, there's not much going on this weekend. It's kind of an off weekend, and so I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I think we're going to talk about get some inspiration in to get traveling again and where you can go.
That was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it was
giving
fun.
me a sense of where New York's at. We'll see you next week.
Hello, I'm Amye the Hypnotist here at beautiful Heimie's Haberdashery, and this is Coffee Talk. I spent the last week learning EMDR, which stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. It is a form of mental health healing that is amazing for post-traumatic stress disorder and any other form of trauma. Now, I went into it as a little bit of a skeptic. I am a science gal, and it turns out that there's over 40 years of really great research behind this process. And if you're like me, when you think of EMDR, if you're familiar with it, you think of people with doing this with their fingers and having your eyes follow it. And it turns out that they don't really do that anymore. The eye movement is a misnomer. It's really about the bilateral stimulation. And if you remember, we've talked about that before, using both sides of the brain to help process trauma. So what's really amazing about this process is it engages both hemispheres of the brain, both the emotional and the physical, and it really engages clearing out trauma in the body as well as the cognitive mind. In the long term, what happens is you've reprocessed the memories. Now your body tends towards health, so you cut yourself, your body heals. Your mind, if it's traumatized, it wants to go to health too. So what EMDR does as a tool is it gets your mind out of the way and it lets you heal yourself and allows you to make new connections in your brain. So instead of your brain saying something like, hey, I'm a victim, it'll say, hey, I am a strong survivor. So the World Health Organization, the Department of Defense, they are all using this technique. It is just getting more and more advanced all the time. So I strongly encourage you, if you have friends that are suffering from something and need to go through trauma treatment, to consider EMDR. It is non-invasive, it's easy to do, and it is very, very effective. And I think the best thing about it is just knowing that there's hope. You can actually not only just learn to live with these things, you can heal from them. So please encourage your friends to seek the healing that they need because it can happen. I will see you next week here at Heimie's Haberdashery, and this is Coffee Talk.